I returned to base a few short days ago after almost a whole month of travels in the MENA and Gulf regions. And what an informative month it was, too. I talked to cabbies and academics, to fruit sellers and diplomats, media people as well as hotel staff. In other words, to blue and white collar men and women alike. They helped me form some distinct impressions about the horrid Gaza-Israel war that has already passed the 100-day mark. The first impression is one of deep apprehension that the terrifying experiences of 7th October in the settlements of the Gaza envelope and then in Gaza itself will become even more terrifying and exact an even more murderous human toll if the war is allowed to spread across the region. Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and more. Deep, deep concern. The second impression that I'd rarely felt so clearly or heard so audibly was a consensus by an overwhelming majority of men and women that the Western mask had finally fallen and that the emperor had lost his clothes. He's starkers, naked, exposed. It is the first time I hear with such caustic bitterness the belief by the inhabitants of these two Arab regions that the West, the USA, the UK, Germany, and even France and Canada had finally revealed their true faces. It was now clear for the Arab world that the West still clutches its colonialist designs and doesn't really care about the human rights of other peoples. After all, 25,000 deaths do not shake their consciences. Israel, they're convinced, is a regional project that won't change easily. Forget peace, negotiations, normalization, whatever. The mask has simply fallen. And in this quasi-unanimity, it was also clear to me that they turned their ire not only on Messrs. Biden, Sunak, Scholz, Macron, or Trudeau, but also on some of their own leaders. Talking the talk, oh yes, Arab leaders and politicians are good at that, but walking the walk, forget it, they told me. Many of them are considered to be part of the USA-Israel project, whether willingly or otherwise, and their interests lie not with their peoples, but in maintaining the status quo. So today, I too hope that this war will not spread. Rather, I hope that a ceasefire will finally kick in so that the Israeli hostages could be returned, the Gaza residents will stop dying, and there'll be space for discussing seriously about the day after. The EU27, for instance, are today having another big powwow along with Israeli and Palestinian foreign ministers, plus some Arab countries invited to lunch. But will they rehearse the old verbal mantras, or will they recognize that the moment, this moment, is different and so flex their diplomatic muscles? After all, dragging a whole region into more cataclysms because of a political system headed by Benjamin Netanyahu and his ilk is unforgivable. Moreover, to hide behind trite pretexts to continue this war that has killed 1.1% of the population of Gaza and decimated the Strip is also an unforgivable crime perpetrated against civilians. The choice here is simple. PM Netanyahu wants to eliminate the Palestinian question from the annals of world politics, whilst the West ululates about a two-state solution but does hardly anything to make it happen in accordance with past UNSCRs 181, 242, 338, and a myriad other. When our defense secretary gives an interview to Laura Kunsberg on BBC One and suggests that Palestinians deserve a sovereign state, I wonder, is that a morphine injection to keep them quiet, or will Western stakeholders exert pressure upon Israel to make it happen? And here I segue to the matter of genocide and the South Africa case at the ICJ. It is possible that the World Court will issue provisional measures in the next fortnight or so. But what will they say? This is the big question now, because the matter of whether what happened, what is happening in Gaza, qualifies as genocide under the 1948 Convention will take a few years for a proper determination. So what matters now are the interim measures to stop the carnage presently centered in Khan Yunis, a short distance away from Rafah and the gateway to Egypt. The lawyer in me wants to hear the ICJ 15 justices push back against immense political pressure and speak out the truth. Brilliant lawyers like Dugard and Boyle have argued that there is both intent and execution by Israel in the war in Gaza, and that it is genocide. And there are many countries and organizations supporting the South African case. However, there are also other Western countries, alongside Israel itself, pulling in the other direction. Even our chief rabbi has a legal opinion about it. However, if I throw legal caution to the wind and think more like a politician, or forget that, just like an ordinary and half-decent human being, I'd simply look at what Israel has been doing in Gaza over the past 3+ months, then collate their statements with their actions, and I'd infer that it is genocide. But you know what? I'll wait for the ICJ statement because there are consequences that flow out from the pronouncement. Consequences upon Israel and also upon those who were complicit in the putative crimes. Hold on, though. Does it really matter at this stage whether 15 men and women use the G word? It matters to the tabloid papers. It also matters legally. But will the UNSC be allowed to implement the remedies that flow out of a determination that Gaza is in the grip of a genocide? I wonder. What urgently matters now is to stop the carnage, the suffering, the deaths, the drones, the bombs, the hunger, the diseases. If all this can be addressed without the G word, then fine. After all, Wael Dahdour, the chief of bureau in Gaza for AJA, will not get back all his dead relatives if the ICJ pronounces the G word, nor will over 2 million Gaza residents. And here I want to go out on a limb and ask myself why the West is dead set on supporting Israel in committing these heinous crimes against Palestinians. We know what Israel's PM and his coterie of rabid politicians want: transfer, ethnic cleansing, reoccupation. But what about our European human rights values? What negotiates Western thinking? The key Western countries that are firewalling Israel have their reasons. France and the UK, their colonial past. Germany, its guilt about the Holocaust. The USA, well, how many times have you heard American politicians saying that they need an Israel in the region, and if it weren't there already, they'd give birth to it? Israel is America's garrison. But this too is a bit too metronomic an answer. Everyone on the telly or on the blower rehashes this argument. I think it goes a bit beyond this. Until now, the West has controlled the international rules-based order, and the world has largely been fashioned according to their decisions. Remember the British and French diplomats, Sykes and Picot, who drew a line in the sand from the Mediterranean to the Persian frontier and remade the map for a mandated Palestine, a Transjordan, a Lebanon, and a Syria? Remember the collapse of the Berlin Wall? the two Iraqi wars. But things have been changing further since then. We have BRICS, China, and Arab countries shifting, slowly but surely, I would hazard, shifting the global unipolar system into regional multipolar ones. In this renewed reorientation, there is a realization that the boundaries separating the economic interests of the global north and the global south are a bit too porous for comfort, and that the world order is changing. We in the West are worried that we're losing our influence, our hold, our interests, and we're therefore coming out with spasmodic reactions in order to keep the MENA and Gulf regions firmly quiet in our backyards. But times are changing, and there are too many convulsions that are disturbing this diagram. We don't like it. The West is flailing. Our economic forecasts are unhappy. Look at Germany today. Even their car industry is being rivaled by China. And things simply aren't working too well for us. Therefore, we double down. We batten down the shutters and apply the rules and pressures that could help us maintain an upper hand. This has nothing to do with human rights, the ICJ, or even the UN. It has to do with hard power, such as NATO, and soft power, like financial sectors. In a hard-nosed world, who cares about a pesky country like Palestine when it is our future that is at stake? And our future in the oil-rich MENA region is tied to our progeny that we gave birth, and that is Israel. I hope, I do, that my instinct is wrong and my analysis is erroneous, because my forecast could ultimately lead to bigger confrontations. As the global geopolitics change, and they are changing whether we like it or not, we in the West must either also change and adapt with it, or else fight it. And for now, I think we're fighting it. One outcome would therefore lead to a season of frightening convulsions, like Gaza today, and even, dare I add, the West Bank. So let me go for my glass of arak, as it helps provide me with some alcohol haze and comfort. But what also gives me solace is Sir Winston Churchill, who reputedly said once, "The truth is incontrovertible. Malice may attack it, ignorance may deride it, but in the end, there it is." Fingers crossed.